Thanks for joining Have Tea with V. This podcast is centered around mostly just talking about just everyday life, things that we go through that are voluntary and things that are involuntary as well. A lot of it, of what I'm going to talk about, is going to be just based off of my life experiences, but I'm also going to have guests like today that will talk about their life experiences and also things that they are very versed in. I'm gonna have licensed professionals sometimes. I'm not a licensed professional, but I will offer, advice based off of my experiences. But we're gonna kind of just go ahead and just get into today. So we're gonna be having tea with Andrea Cook. So I met Andrea. It's been a couple years now. I met her husband first.
Most people do.
And I was a blogger at the time with a group of ladies, and the girl that was over it, she had set up an interview with Andres for his internet radio station. She was gonna have her interview on there, but she had a family emergency that came up, and so she asked me to step in for her and do it, and that's how I met Andres.
Okay, I never knew that.
And then shortly after that, I met Andrea, and I just love Andrea. She's the bomb.com, like everything. And she is such a pillar in the community. She deserves all her flowers because she definitely deserves them. Like, she does so much work. But today we're going to just kind of talk about mental health and the importance of that. I am very, very big on that. That's something that I feel like we're starting to kind of talk about it more in the Black community.
I think so.
But we're a little late to the party. We got a little catching up to do.
Sometimes in the Black community, we have to see that it's okay to trust it, because so many times in our past, it is implanted on our DNA to expect the bottom to fall out.
Mm-hmm.
And because of like our family relationships, people are so used to like families gossiping about whatever somebody's issue is that we just don't always trust that we can confide in somebody and then it won't go anywhere. So.
I completely agree. It's like you always. I know my family gossip is a major thing. You tell one person a secret, by the end of the day, like pretty much everybody's gonna know. And sometimes you don't need that. You kind of need people to keep things a little confined for you so you can express things. So there are some things that we experience that it's embarrassing and we don't want anybody else to know. But that's why it's good to be able to find somebody who is trustworthy to talk to. So I'm going to first go ahead and let Andrea just kind of give an introduction of herself and some background about her.
Let's see. So yes, my name is Andrea Cook. I'm 42 and very proud of it. I've been married to my husband almost 19 years. We've been together for 21.
Oh, Black love.
Honey, it's been a struggle. If I wasn't a counselor. Okay, so, and then we have 8 kids together. I birthed them. I am a doctoral candidate, getting my doctorate in couple and family therapy. I should be Dr. Cook by May of 2023. And one of my biggest passions is access to mental health services for Black and brown communities, and advocacy is not easy. It's not something that I asked for. It is something that I'm called to do. Mm-hmm. And so Macon has access to no-cost mental health services in some of the most marginalized communities because we need it and we deserve it. And representation matters. So a good deal of the counselors who work with us are Black or brown, and that kind of reduces the stigma that some people may feel. So I'm excited about the work I get to do.
Me too. I love it. And I actually, took part of some of the services because I have the hardest time with my health insurance trying to find a brown Black girl to talk to for mental health therapy. It was so hard. Like, there was not my insurance, like people in the area, they weren't taking it. So it was like, okay, I would have to go to Atlanta, and I live in Macon, that's an hour away. I don't want to have to do that. So I reached out to Andrea. She hooked me up, and it helped me, like, because I was at a breaking point, but it really helped. And I love what she's doing. And having those services to be free, it's a blessing. I mean, like she said, it's needed. It's important. And people really should take a part of it as well. Um, but I want to know, the holiday season is coming up. I feel like mental health really it weighs on you a lot around the holiday season. A lot of people, they feel alone. They may be grieving because they may have lost some loved ones, and things are just not the same as
Yeah.
when you were like a kid or just growing up. So, how do you feel about mental health regarding grieving and battling depression around the holiday season?
Um, Without all of the other life altering things that happen, just changing of the seasons can impact people. So something like seasonal affective disorder, which is oddly enough sad. That's what we call it. And just the time changing makes people feel sadder. I mean, it's darker longer. You're not as some of us are very excited about the holiday season.
Yes, yes.
Some of us maybe not so much because of all the life altering things. And so people are severely impacted by seasonal affective disorder. It's better to live in the South because we have longer days here. But it still impacts people who live here. Now, grief and loss are it's like this intersection of already experiencing seasonal affective disorder, the stresses of still living through a pandemic because we're still here,
Oh, yes.
and then all of the lives that were lost
Mm-hmm.
from COVID. And I think that I haven't encountered anyone who isn't feeling low at some point or depressed. And being depressed is totally normal. There's nothing abnormal about it, unless it reaches like this clinical level. And then
Yes, definitely.
people can be bipolar, and bipolar doesn't mean that you're happy one minute and sad the next. It really means that you've had, well, bipolar 1 is like you've had one manic episode. So mania looks, excuse me, very different for everybody. So mania for me may look like I'm gonna get up and clean up my house, which is not gonna happen. But I'm gonna get up and clean
Look,
up.
I know how it is.
I'm gonna get up and clean up my house, top to bottom, take care of all my tasks, and this is how I'm gonna be. I'm gonna get very little sleep, and that's gonna last maybe a week. And then I'm going to hit this plateau and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come down fast. And when you come down fast, that sadness you feel is most likely what you will feel the majority of the time when you have bipolar disorder, severely depressed. And when you have just that severe depression, that is major depressive disorder, where you don't ever feel a manic episode. So people feel those things a lot more in the fall and winter months, one because of grief and loss, but also because of the seasonal changes. So I think it's important to begin your year when you're making like those new resolutions, where you're trying to improve yourself, that you go ahead and you get a counselor at the beginning of the year so that you can work and have some tools already, so
Yes,
that
I agree.
by the time you get to the end, you already know what you can do to keep yourself whole.
I definitely agree, because for me, it definitely gets rough around the holidays. I feel like, just from my personal experience of experiencing death of a very, very close loved one at a young, fragile age, it changed my whole outlook on life, honestly. But especially around the holiday season, because there were so many things that we did together that I miss, So a lot of people, if they know me personally, they would know that my grandmother raised me and my sister, and she passed away when I was 14. 14 is a very fragile age.
It is.
I was just becoming a teenager, learning stuff about being a woman, dating, and all that kind of stuff, and I did not get the proper guidance I needed because she was gone, and me and my sister went into foster care. So there are certain things that happens during the holiday season where I may smell a certain scent or something, and I'll just start crying. And I was just like, really, pull it together. But it's all a part of just the process. But it's really important to be able to talk to somebody, and I agree to do it beforehand. When you're making, like, I know everybody now be making vision boards and stuff, and you put on there, certain things you want to see for your life. A lot of people do it in an aspect of this is what they just overall see for their whole life. But I think that it's better when you do it on a smaller scale. Give yourself like a smaller time frame of a goal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe this is what I'm going to do the first 6 months of the year versus this is what I want to do the whole year. And it helped me to reach those goals a little bit faster and quicker. And I work harder for them when it's a shorter time frame that I'm thinking about. Because if I'm thinking about a whole year, that's just like, I seen a post the other day, and it was like, this year done flew by, and I ain't even get my ish together. Because I really...
But it's true. You should have do the SMART method where it's, simple, manageable, attainable. Like those things matter when you're goal setting. And so I try not to make goals a year from now, except maybe being independently wealthy, so I don't have to worry.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's my overall goal.
Oh, yes. Every day I'm trying to think of something like, because I work a 9 to 5. I also have a baking business. I do poetry. I do modeling. So I'm always trying to think of a way, like, how can I cut out something that's going to make me like just be really financially stable to the point where if I want to wake up at 11 a.m., I can.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't want to set an alarm one day, I can. I ain't there yet, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
You're getting there.
But
You're probably going to work more once you work for yourself, though. I'm just going to tell you that. There's no...
That is very true.
You end up working.
That is true because, last year I quit one place where I was employed at. I had been employed there for 7 years. It took a toll on my mental. And I was like, yeah, this is it for me. I got to go. So I quit. And for a good 6-7 months, I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to work anybody else's job. Like, I'm going to focus on what I want to do. And I thought that would be better. So for like 6 or 7 months, I only focused on my baking business and stuff. And I worked from sun up to sundown.
You sure will. Sometimes overnight.
Yes. Like, I made a lot of money, but I lost a lot of sleep. But it was worth it. It helped me to grow my business to a point now where I have to turn down orders all the time because I'm just like, I can't. I gotta sleep. But another question that I have for you, Andrea, do you or have you ever seen a therapist?
Oh, absolutely. Like, once again, the only reason why I'm still married is is for counseling. My husband is a lot.
He does have a big personality.
Yes,
he does.
He's a lot, and he talks even more than what people think.
Yes.
So it is. I'm an introvert. I could be quiet all the time. I don't need a whole lot of going out. I don't. So I know people always like, well, you're everywhere, and I'm like, no, I'm not. It looks like I'm everywhere. And when I'm somewhere, I'm only there a few minutes.
You are. You scoot on out real quick. I be like, where'd Andrea go? She's gone.
But I believe in supporting people. But I'm not big on like the pomp and circumstance. So for myself and for most counselors, we all have to be in supervision. So we're all in counseling. I mean, there's somebody that we are reviewing our cases with, who are reminding us to take care of ourselves on a regular basis because we talk a good game, but if we don't have somebody reminding us to take care of ourselves, we will not do it. And those like fail safes have kept is what keeps counselors going because barbers, beauticians, if that's still cosmetologists, they are. I want to make sure I say the right thing. They are
I think
them
they use stylists a lot now.
stylists. Them and pastors commit suicide at such high rates because people are constantly coming to them, telling them, dumping all their stuff on them, and they don't have a profession that puts in place that need for supervision. So I think that people need to know that when you're going to your counselor, your counselor has someone to talk to. When you're going to your stylist, when you're going to your barber, when you're going to your pastor, they don't. And so we're professionals for a reason. We're put here for a reason.
Yes.
Please use us at your disposal because we really want to address the numbers of suicide rates. So yes, counselors are pretty much always in counseling. And for me, my husband was he worked full time for the railroad for just long enough to get fully vested, and then he came home to help grow our business. And when he came home, it was just it was a lot. I was used to him being gone all the time, doing, saying, purchasing whatever I wanted to without having to. It was just a huge adjustment to have him in my space all the time. And but we went to counseling twice, and I will say for absolute certain that counseling is the reason why we're still married. But the way that I talk now, where I don't raise my voice when I'm having conversations with my husband. I don't really raise my voice when I talk to my kids because they don't hear it. When I yell, it just sounds real screechy, so nobody hears when I'm screaming. But I think that even now, that I probably still will seek therapy because I don't do a good job of self-caring. Yes. So I'm incredibly exhausted. I need to work on my no's being complete sentences. I also need to work on boundaries. So
same here. Same here.
So I think that we all should have a counselor. Everybody should have access.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, but I definitely agree with I don't know why. Like, I don't like to hear no, so I don't like to tell people no. And it's like, if I feel like I can try to do it, I'm going to do it. Even if it inconveniences me. And I'm just like, you got to stop that. Like, it's not healthy. I'd be so drained. And
they be happy-go-lucky, though.
They be real happy. They don't even tell you thank you, most of them. Like, I just really sacrificed something here, and you're not even going to tell me thank you?
So I have to tell you one thing. So my no's not being complete sentences. I say no. I just don't say no enough. So I'm like 50% there. But what I learned this thing recently where we should not strive to be nice. We should strive to be kind. Because the difference between being nice and kind is when you say yes to something and you feel icky about it, that's being nice. And when you say yes to something and you feel joy behind that yes, that's being kind. And so if you feel any kind of hesitation about doing something for somebody else, then come back and be like, no, I can't do that. Because being nice is something that you're doing that for somebody else. But when you're being kind, you're doing it for yourself. So
I like that.
I try to maintain being kind.
I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind, definitely, because I know I'd be too nice.
I know you're being too nice.
So one other thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, what are some just like quick cool down tactics that you have? Like if someone feels overwhelmed or they're just sad.
sad, overwhelmed. I know, and it may sound super cliche, but one of the things that I often do is I think about all of the things that our ancestors had to go through in order for us to be able to have access and do some of the things that we get to do now. So sitting or firmly resting in this place of gratefulness reminds me to be, it reminds me that I have something to be happy about. So that's one thing. I also have anxiety. So like people see the stuff that I share on Facebook and automatically assume it's because I'm a mental health professional. I'm sharing these things for the world, but I'm sharing them for me. I'm reminding myself to do the grounding techniques, and so I'm thinking, and it's a countdown. And so 5 things I can see, and then I identify what those 5 things are, and then there's 4 things that I can touch, and then I think about 3 things that I can carry, 2 things that I can taste, and 1 thing that I can do immediately to make me feel better. And so I do this countdown, and then I'm immediately calmer. But I'm also, it's a part of, some of us, it's a part of our personalities to just be able to absorb things and then spit it out, something new. But I also think it's important the people that you keep around you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Being very selective about who gets to be in your space and who gets to have access to you, like personal, real access to you. It's not selfish. It's not. It's not selfish. It's self-full to think about who you let in your space and around you, and how other people feel about you is none of your business.
That's right. Because a lot of people, they see you and, you know, things that you do and just how you are and how you live your life. And they really set out to use you. Like they're just draining. And you just you have to be able to identify that and just kind of step back. I will say over the past year, I have said no more than I ever have in my life. And that was really hard for me. But I feel better when I say no to certain things, or I don't let people take advantage of me like I used to. I recently, my whole circle of friends changed. I had a group of friends that I had been friends with since elementary school. I'm talking about like 9 years old, 8 years old. And when I started to put down boundaries, they left.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't hear from them. And I don't, at first I did feel like I needed to reach out to them because it's just how I am. I want to know why, like what happened, you know, like, I mean, I know what happened, but I want to know exactly, you know, like why are you not saying anything? Because I did try to reach out to them at first and they didn't say anything. And they waited. And now you want to say something. I'm just like, no, we can't do that. But yeah, my circle of friends changed and it took a toll on me. Like I had my circle of friends change. I had weight loss surgery. I quit my job. My dating life sucked, you know, like everything was just hitting at once. And I'm just like, okay, I'm entering into my 30s like this. Like, is this how it always gonna be? So that's why I had to reach out to you so I can get some therapy because I was about to lose it.
Loss is not always a bad thing. I think sometimes we think it is, but it really is our opportunity to ascend. So when you lose all those things that were like your center of gravity, and those were the things that kept you in a box. Those friends, that job, even being 29 going into 30, is something incredibly liberating about being in your 40s where it's,
I heard, I can't wait. I'm ready for it.
It has been so freeing, and my level, and I'm sorry, but I got to curse here, but the level of fucks I give about who thinks anything about me. I mean, because I used to, like, in all my pictures, I would cover up my stomach, and I'm like, why? I had 8 kids. I earned this body, and there's a lot of people that ain't here no more. I'm a wear this dress, and I'm gonna wear these shoes, and I'm gonna buy what I want, and I'm gonna do the things that make me happy without regard for what anybody else
definitely
thinks about it. I used to be embarrassed because I'm the youngest of 5, so I never learned how to clean. So people have to come in my house and clean up for me because my anxiety and because of like all the stuff I take on or I took on, even now, like I can get into a place where I'm just funky, and
I do too.
So I won't move. I'll do just enough to make sure that my kids have what they need, and at this point I don't even really cook anymore. A lot of the stuff that I used to do, I have outsourced, and it has made me a better mother, a better person. So my laundry, somebody comes and picks it up. I still got a lot, so I'm calling Joe. But I have somebody does my laundry, somebody comes and cleans up for me, somebody cooks dinner several nights a week. And my mom is moving back in with us because she wants to do all those things and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be so concerned with what people thought about. But once you turn 40, it's like, fuck them, fuck you, fuck y'all. Is it bringing me joy?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it is a waste of time and space. And that includes people.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can all have the same blood running through us. But if you're not excited, if your eyes don't light up when you see me, then I don't want you in my space.
Yes.
Because my eyes light up when I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't have this reciprocal relationship, whether we grew up together, whether you came from somebody who grew up with me, whether you birthed somebody who grew up with me, none of it matters if your eyes don't light up when you see me. And I always know. I know energy. I know when it's strange. I know when it's new.
Oh, yes.
And when it changes. And so when it changes, then I'm about to go.
And that's one thing I do appreciate I feel like it's a gift to be able to read energy, mm-hmm. especially just from just being around somebody, because it can save you from a lot. And there are so many times I may meet like new people, whether it's like my sister may have a new friend or something, or my cousin, and I just be like, y'all, I don't like them. And they'd be like, oh, you just saying that, you just saying that. And then something happens, and they'd be like, you were right. I was like, I know I was. Like, I can tell when somebody has like really good, pure intentions and when they don't. But I definitely, for a long time, I lived my life in a box, and I cared about like what my family thought as well. I grew up kind of poor. Not really. I didn't know I was poor.
Yeah.
Because I still got everything I wanted. But yeah, my grandma struggled. And so a lot of my family and some friends too, they grew up poor. Some of them still are. A lot of times I feel like it's by choice. But I used to feel kind of guilty because of how I worked to live my life.
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I choose to live in a luxury apartment complex. I choose to drive a more up-to-date, vehicle. I choose to buy me a Coach bag, a Telfar bag, or Marc Jacobs, whatever I want. I choose to travel, go out of the country, and I felt bad for a while. I'm just like, I don't want to flaunt this in front of them. But it's not really flaunting when you think about it, because everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
To live your life how you really want to, especially when it comes to material things. You only get, and that's what I be telling people. I be like, you might as well go ahead and do it or spend the money, because of course, pay your bills and stuff. Take care of your responsibilities, but live your life. Like, if it's something that you feel like is going to make you happy, go ahead and buy it. Do it. I don't hesitate when it comes to buying anything. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. Like, if I want it, I'm gonna get it.
So one of the things that helps me with my mental health on a regular basis is sitting with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't always feel that I was beautiful. And so being a dark skin, I wasn't chubby when I was a kid, but growing up, having kids, then you get a different body than maybe the one that you had. And I had to, struggle with the idea of people not necessarily valuing dark skinned Black women,
Yes.
but then a dark skinned chubby woman, and then people have all these preconceived notions about what we are and how we behave and what our temperaments are like. And I fully own being a bitch. I am. And that doesn't mean what it means what it means to me, and that's a broad and total control of herself. I don't need anybody's permission to do anything that I want to do. But it's I sit with myself and I make sure that I'm happy with me and the decisions that I make. I want my children to be proud of the mother that has raised them. I don't want them to ever think that they have limits simply because when they were 21 they had a baby, or when they were 36 they had their eighth. I don't ever want them to think that they're less valuable simply because of the choices that they've made. And so I check myself regularly to make sure that I'm being my most authentic self so that I can keep my mental health intact. But I also want to be a good example of what it is or what it means to take care of your mental health and still not be perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, and I always need reflection. And so some days people see me and I might be dressed to the nines. And some days you might see me in the store and I'm gonna be in my pajamas. And that might not be a good day for me. I'm gonna still say hello and I'm gonna still be kind. But it may not be a good day for me. And not thinking that people who work in the mental health field have it all together. But we're all practicing, we're all working on ourselves, hopefully. And then if there's one thing that people leave with today or that they didn't know, is that I want people to know there's a major difference between being mentally ill and being mentally healthy. And that we're all striving to be mentally healthy. And we all can be. And a diagnosis of a mental illness is not a life sentence.
I agree. I agree with all that. All of it. But I do want to thank you so much for being my guest today. And you all can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Anchor as well. On YouTube, everything is under Have Tea with B.
Have Tea with B.
Of course, because I'm B. But also, one other thing I want to ask you, what is your favorite tea?
Oh, my favorite tea is Tezo's Passion Tea. Well, that's one. Okay, commercial. The other one is the one that my husband and I make, and it's with the cook shop. And it's a hibiscus tea. And most people, I like the way hibiscus tastes. But after having two preeclampsia with two of my last kids, I have high blood pressure. And hibiscus tea brings down your blood pressure. And so I drink a lot of hibiscus tea with hemp in it and lemon and stevia. No sugar.
Love it.
And because I cut sugar out of well, besides fruits and vegetables, but like processed sugar. Because it was just making my blood pressure worse. So, but that's my favorite tea.
It's one of my favorites too from y'all. So I always buy tea from the cook shop. I started buying tea from the cook shop because my menstrual cycles were horrible as far as like the pain and everything. And with the hemp and everything, it worked wonders.
It's amazing. It's a good pain reliever. I wish that more people would like investigate things that holistically make you feel better. And because a lot of the stuff that we do now or that we ingest in our bodies are so over processed that it impacts our mental health, it impacts our digestive health, because a lot of these chemicals weren't meant to be in our bodies.
Yes.
So anyway, I won't go on a tangent on that.
It's okay. It's okay. But that's part of the reason why I named it Have Tea with B, because tea itself is so like beneficial in so many ways. It's natural. It's of the earth. Like you can combine it with so many different things to even alter your mood, So it has so many benefits. And that's what I want this podcast to be, is to just be really beneficial for a better quality of life for everybody. But I do want you to also share information about Sequels, see how they can, get in contact.
Well, Sequel is a nonprofit that serves to remove barriers for mental health services or access. You can reach us at sequel.org if you want to volunteer, you want to donate, you want to participate. You can also go to makingmentalhealthmatters.com if you need access to mental health services. Any resident in Macon-Bibb County can access these services at no cost. Also, if there's I said one thing, but one huge takeaway from the work that I've been able to do is that if you encounter a counselor, not just at our agency, but at any agency, and they don't work for you, you can fire your counselor. You don't have to stay with somebody that you don't mesh well with. And if that happens, be open. Tell your counselor, and then your counselor will help you find another counselor that better suits your needs. So please remember that. So if you go to or come to see any of our counselors or any counselor in town, you do not have to stick with them. You can pick a different counselor at the same agency or a different agency. You are not locked in. What we want, or what we hope, is that you'll just seek out mental health services in general. So thank you. This was amazing. I didn't know what I was gonna get when I got here. I really enjoyed the space and the place and how comfortable this is. So when she calls you to be on her podcast, accept it.
Definitely. Oh, yes. And shout out to 1212 Studios for providing the space and the video production as well. It is very serene here. It's peaceful. And peace is always important. Very important.
You either got peace or peace.
Yes. But I'm just going to leave y'all on this note. It's okay to not be okay. It's perfectly okay to not be okay. Just take those moments to try to identify your emotions and really seek help if you need it. In the words of Big Glow, okay? I know you're a fan of Big Glow. Every day, the sun won't shine. That's why I love tomorrows. Okay? But thanks again for joining Have Tea with B, and I hope y'all have a really good day.